They call this house the House of Wind and Sun. The warmth of the sunlight illuminates the yard, and the wind comes in and out like a friendly neighbor. Egyptian earth architect Adel Fahmy has been building this house from scratch for 16 years.
هذا المنزل بالنسبة لي زي ابني الصغير. لقد بنيته طوبة طوبة وبنيته أوضة أوضة حجرة حجرة.
This house is made entirely out of earth. Inside the house, you can smell the scents of autumn, and the smooth curves made by the earth radiate the warmth of a wheat field swaying in the wind. The walls reflect the light coming from outside and interpret it into colors much like those of modern impressionists. Adel Fahmy says he built this house to show the beauty of a mud house.
أن المنزل هو الجلد الثالث للإنسان. هناك الجلد الطبيعي وهناك ملابسه وهناك المنزل. فإذا كانوا هذه الثلاث أشياء متقاربين وبهم علاقة جميلة يشعر الإنسان براحة في المنزل. الإنسان لابد أن يعيش براحة في المنزل، لأنه كلمة المنزل تعني السكن، تعني السكينة، الهدوء، السلام.
The Adobe house radiates a calm and peaceful feeling. This feeling of warmth lies in the mud. The earth embraces the roots of the tree and the farm and the seed. Humankind has been using mud as the most friendly source for building houses for thousands of years, but it has been forgotten by the people of modern civilization. But today, the Adobe house is slowly and silently coming back to us. An ancient city near the Nile of Egypt, Luxor. Hassan Fathi village is located on the outskirts of Luxor. It's a small and old village, a little run down. It is an historic place, the origin of modern earth architecture. Earth architect Adel Fahmy. He lived his whole life as an earth architect since coming to this village. He met a pioneer architect who built this village about 50 years ago.
احمد اهلا باشمهندس، ازي حالك؟ عامل ايه؟ اخبارك؟ عامل ايه؟ الحمد لله على السلامه، ازي صحتك؟ ايه اخبارك انت؟ عامل ايه؟ ازيك يا احمد؟ كله تمام الله يخليك. عامل ايه؟ كله تمام.
The round, arched roof, the shabby mud wall, they are falling apart, But Ahmad Abdurradi, the current resident of the house, has special feelings for this house.
الحمد لله في سنة أولى إعدادي.
Adel Fahmy and Ahmad Abdurradi, they call themselves the Clay family. And there is a man they worship. The person on the left in the black and white photographs who looks like he is in his 40s. He is the father of modern earth architecture, Hassan Fahmy.
بنرسمها كده. وعندك هنا المدرسة اللي تعلمنا فيها اللي أزلوها والشالت. أنا بحبي للمدرسة اللي تعلمت فيها ببناء الطين والقبو الجميل داخلة في خيالي. حتى بمسك القلم برسم وبخليها الأولاد يشوفوها، يشوفوا المدرسة اللي أنا تعلمت فيها، مش المدارس المبنية بالخرسانات المسلحة الكبيرة خالص دي.
This is a picture that Ahmad still keeps close to his heart. Hassan Fahmy was an Egyptian architect who devoted his entire life to creating architecture for the poor. He was born in 1900 and died in 1989. The model of today's modern Adobe house, the round roof and arched door, actually began with Hassan Fahmy. He regenerated Egypt's traditional earth construction methods and handed them down to later artisans. Unprecedented in the history of the world, the new city built from earth, Hassan Fahmy Village. For 4 years, from 1945 on, the village consisted of a temple, market, theater, and school. Hassan Fahmy planned to build up to 7,000 more buildings. Then, why and for whom did Hassan Fahmy plan this new city constructed from earth? The reason was simple and clear. He wanted to create houses made from earth for the poor. 3,500 years ago, this place was the capital of Egypt, also known as the Valley of Pharaohs, as it was the home to the tombs of 64 pharaohs, including Tutankhamun and Ramses, the world's largest ancient museum. There is a village in this valley, the Gurna village. The people living in this village, ancient as the history of the Valley of the Pharaohs, have always been poor. The poor stole valuable ancient relics from the tombs around them and secretly sold them to outsiders. As the secret robberies of ancient relics by the people of Gurna village continued, the Egyptian government responded with a strong countermeasure. It was to build a new village in the neighborhood and rehabilitate the villagers. The man in charge of the construction of the new village was Hassan Fahmy. In 1945, Hassan Fahmy thought for many days walking around this very shrine, the Ramses shrine, the symbol of Egyptian civilization. He thought, with what and how can I build houses for these poor people? He found his answer when he reached the huge crop storage hall inside the Ramses shrine. Hassan Fahmy was surprised. How did this shrine manage to stand here so firmly for 3,500 years, built only with this common mud brick. How did the ancestors build this huge arched building only with mud bricks, and how did they make it so strong? Getting his idea from the Ramseum storage, Hassan Fahmy started to build the new village based on this traditional architectural method.
يعني نستطيع أن نقول أن عمارة الطين أو عمارة الأرض بدأت عهدا جديدا مع حسن فتحي الذي حاول أن يقول للعالم أجمع أنه بهذه المادة الطبيعية نستطيع أن نبني منازل موافقة وجميلة في نفس الوقت.
This is the new city for those who immigrated from Gurna, the Hassan Fahmy village. Although it has been 50 years, the market buildings still display the beautiful arched roofs and curves created by Hassan Fahmy. There are still some residential buildings intact, as well as the cultural palace that Hassan Fahmy so loved. But it's not easy to find traces of the new city made of earth here now. He could not complete the 7,000 buildings he planned due to protests from politicians and government negligence. Now, this mosque is the only building with its original shape. Hassan Fahmy's dream was left incomplete, but it became a starting point, signaling the rebirth of Adobe architecture as the world later learned of his pioneering efforts. The pioneer of modern Adobe architecture, Hassan Fahmy. The message he wanted to send was that aged earth is not the symbol of poverty, but instead a symbol of wealth and hope. Grenoble, in the south of France, embraces the beautiful Alps. It was in France in the 1970s when people began to pay attention to the potential of Adobe architecture and started full-scale studies into the subject. At the center of such a movement was the Grenoble School of Architecture. The Grenoble School of Architecture is one of the oldest organizations in the world that studies Adobe architecture. Here, students study examples of a variety of Adobe architecture around the world and put their knowledge into practice.
Et puis là maintenant, je m'intéresse plus à l'architecture de terre. C'est un produit très intéressant au niveau architectural, au niveau aussi environnemental. Je pense que ça peut être un matériau d'avenir.
Allez, vas-y.
Comme ça.
the Cratère EAG of the Grenoble School of Architecture. Their research focus is on fundamental studies to supplement the limitations of Earth. For this study, researchers from many different regions, like Africa, South America, and Asia, as well as France, have joined together. The major subject of analysis is the Earth collected from many places around the world.
Les numéros sont plus hauts. S'il est plus sec, les numéros... non, s'il est plus sec, les numéros sont hauts. Un numéro.
A lot of people think that to construct with earth means that you're poor or you don't know what to do. So we're trying to raise awareness to people to make them understand that you can use earth, a traditional material, to express yourself contemporarily. So I've come to Cratère to take the postgraduate course.
Et je suis venue ici parce que je voulais connaître, approfondir la connaissance en terre, l'appliquer pas qu'à la restauration, sinon aussi à l'architecture contemporaine, à la vie économique, à la vie écologique, tout ça plus large.
Of major interest to this institute is whether earth can replace cement. To find the answer, they are studying the physical properties of clay, such as tension, adhesiveness, contraction, and changes according to the mixture ratio with water.
Scientifiquement, c'est un béton, c'est ce que je disais tout à l'heure, et que dans la recherche fondamentale, cette boue finalement qui est due à une argile un peu particulière, si l'argile, qui est beaucoup mieux étudiée, peut servir de remplacement au ciment, au liant ciment, ça peut être très intéressant. Mais ça, c'est un avenir dans 20 ans, peut-être dans 30 ans ou dans 40 ans. Savoir qu'on peut utiliser d'autres liants que le ciment, ou que l'asphalte, ou que la chaux, peu importe.
A farming village near Grenoble. In the 1970s, Patrice and some friends discovered that most of the farmhouses were made of clay while they were walking around the village. They believed in the potential of Adobe architecture and established Cratère EAG. This region is usually called the Alps region, and there are still 500,000 or more houses made of clay here. In fact, building houses with clay is a worldwide tradition in regions like Asia, Africa, and Europe. This house is now used as storage, and it is a type of adobe house commonly found in France. Straw is weaved together to make the roof, and the wall is about 60 centimeters or more thick, and was piled in the PJ method. It's about 100 years old, but still strong. This building near Grenoble is called the Maison Levert, and it's a special research institute subsidized by Cratère EAG. Hugo Hubin is an Adobe architectural engineer. He is also a member of UNESCO's Adobe Architecture Recovery Project team. He gives a very real reason to the question, why do we need to build houses with clay?
Les accords de Kyoto. L'Europe a signé les accords de Kyoto. Quand on applique ce qui est marqué dans les accords de Kyoto, pour 2050, il faut diminuer la consommation d'acier de 80%, d'aluminium de 90%, de ciment de 85%, je pense. Mais comment on va faire ça si on ne commence pas à utiliser d'autres matériaux qui n'ont pas besoin de tout ça?
Clay is the only thing that can reduce energy and solve global environmental problems, insists Hugo Hubin. A special project to solve these types of problems started here 20 years ago.
Alors voici une partie des archives de cratères. Maintenant, pour trouver le domaine de la Terre, c'est pas évident parce que ça date déjà d'il y a quelques années, beaucoup d'années. Et bon, la Somalie, Soudan, identifiateur.
Back then, there was a very interesting project of trying to build houses only with clay, about building a clay village. These drawings are the master plan that shows everything from the materials to the building method, the weight, and the ceiling.
De pression de terrain qui pourrait faire casser les barrages verticaux, qui sont extrêmement...
In 1982, Île-de-Beau's Urban Development Bureau selected architects, structural designers, and thermodynamic specialists from all over France and created the first clay town in Europe based on the traditional construction method, pige, in 3 years. This is the result of the project, Domaine de la Terre, in other words, the clay house town. Currently, about 50 families are living in these houses, and they are mostly workers and their families who commute to and from Grenoble and Lyon. Domaine de la Terre was designed as subsidized housing for them.
Ici, on a la deuxième technique qui est la technique des blocs de terre comprimés. Là-bas, il a été rentré dans des machines, d'abord mélangé avec un tout petit peu de ciment, à peu près 5-6%. Et puis, la terre a été comprimée, ça a été bien séché, et puis tout ça s'était mis en place.
These houses were built using a variety of construction methods and experiments to find a way to overcome the limitations of clay. 20 years have passed, but there seems to be no significant problems with the structure.
On va avoir des fissures de retrait, beaucoup de micro-fissures et quelques fissures de retrait un peu plus importantes, mais structurellement ça ne joue aucun rôle. Les murs qui ont 60 cm d'épaisseur ne vont pas souffrir du tout de ces fissures.
Since it was completed in 1985, Domaine de la Terre has proven the positive effects and stability of Adobe architecture. It's a type of huge Adobe architecture testing ground. Unlike other people, they weren't too concerned about the potential safety problems caused by rain. In fact, when they built the 60-centimeter thick outer wall, experts said it would last more than 100 years. Rather, their major interest was how much energy could be conserved by the clay house.
En général, les maisons consomment beaucoup moins. La maison qui est juste là, elle consomme à peu près la moitié d'une construction normale ici. Et comme ça, de suite, la plupart sont à 70-80% de la consommation normale pour le chauffage. Donc ça, c'est confirmé définitivement. Autrement, le prix de revient de la construction ici a été exactement le même que ce que vous voyez au fond là-bas, les bâtiments en béton et en étage. Et alors qu'ici, il y a tout le terrain qui est autour. Donc le prix de revient était le même, mais la location pour les gens, c'est exactement la même chose. Donc c'est normal qu'il y ait une grande liste d'attente ici parce que la qualité de vie est tout à fait différente.
Salut mémé. Tu fais de beau.
As an early member of the clay community and living here for 15 years, Jean Parat and his wife say that they were very interested when they saw an advertisement looking for residents for Domaine de la Terre.
J'ai vu ça en Équateur aussi, et donc je voyage en dessinant. Puis il y a beaucoup de couleurs, ça me plaît beaucoup.
The outer wall is clay, but the interior was finished with wood for this house. It's not a fancy place, but it's a place more comfortable and cozier than any other home the Parats have lived in.
Et puis c'est par exemple la chambre, on a une grande baie vitrée, ça c'est pour ma femme qui fait de la peinture, c'est bien. L'hiver, ben, le soleil se reflète dedans puisqu'on est plein ouest, et ça c'est sympa pour ça. Autrement, ben, y a le bois, moi j'aime beaucoup le bois, donc c'est chaud, donc on a réussi à faire une ambiance chaude par rapport à une maison en béton ou en parpaing. On n'arrive pas à recréer, mais ça je crois que c'est le bois. Et puis extérieurement, ben, les parpaings de terre, c'est quand même un autre cachet.
When the couple moved here from downtown Île-de-Beau, it was their children who liked it the most. This subsidized housing project was promoted for the first time in France based on the scientific studies of the Cratère EAG Institute. The technological success of this project became the standard for Adobe architecture in France and influenced other regions, including the Toulouse, Rouen, and Langeais, to build public housing with clay. Now, Adobe architecture in France is spreading to not only large housing complexes, but also individual homes. Nadine and Uplé live in the neighborhood of Île-de-Beau. This couple finished the outer wall and the roof and is now working on insulating and soundproofing the second floor. Adobe architecture requires many hours of labor rather than a lot of money and technical skill.
Donc la construction en terre a toujours été faite par des bâtiments en terre, ont toujours été faits par les gens qui l'habitaient eux-mêmes. Donc c'était un peu pour retrouver cette démarche, parce que les techniques de construction ne sont pas le monopole des gens de métier, mais sont à la portée de tout le monde.
Nadine works as a nurse's aide at a hospital nearby. She has little construction experience, but is thrilled to build her home. Actually, Nadine and Auplain have been working on the house for 10 years now with their own hands. A large living room, kitchen, even the little window in the kitchen to allow the sunlight in, and the pretty fireplace. They made these all by themselves.
Quand une étape est terminée déjà, c'est vrai que quand les murs ont été terminés, avec les ouvertures, là, c'est dit, il y a un gros morceau de fait.
Quand on a pu rentrer dans la maison, c'était l'hiver, et c'est vrai qu'à partir du mois de septembre jusqu'au mois de décembre, c'était une période difficile, parce que c'était tous les week-ends ici, des gros week-ends bien chargés, la semaine sur les chantiers, parce que j'avais des impératifs de temps, de travail à faire, à produire. Donc quand on a pu rentrer dans la maison, c'était une grosse étape.
Et on est rentré le 31 décembre, la nuit, on a déménagé la caravane à...
C'était début janvier.
Ah bon?
C'était après,
Moi, il me semblait que c'était...
C'était après le 1er janvier.
Juste après le 1er janvier.
C'est autour du 15, du 20. 15 janvier. Tu te souviens pas?
Non.
Until they moved into their home a few months ago, this couple had been living in a mobile home in the yard for 10 years. Although they had to live in a mobile home, they enjoyed building their dream house with their own hands. Their hard work is starting to bear fruit, and the couple says that they will need 2 more years to complete the house. Building a house with clay is something the entire family can do together, and the process of building is a happy one. Marrakesh, a city in the south of Morocco. This was the city that became the center of West African religion, education, and culture after the 11th century. As a result, Adobe fortresses, mansions, and temples still remain in the city. Many mansions are built with clay in Marrakesh, even today. Even here, the rule of Adobe architecture, use the material at the site, is observed. This is interesting. They dig up the clay from the yard to make Adobe and turn the dug-up area into a pool for the family to enjoy. As of now, this huge mansion has been under construction for 8 months. Elie Mouyal is in charge of the construction here. He is a renowned architect in Morocco for combining ancient with modern architecture. He prefers using improved compressed Adobe. As it is a large mansion, he uses 4% cement compressed Adobe blocks for the walls and pillars, and pure Adobe for the other parts. In total, clay makes up about 80% of all materials used to build this house.
Donc les techniques évoluent, la manière du public de percevoir ce type de construction a beaucoup évolué. Il y a 20 ans, c'était très marginal, réservé à une élite d'artistes assez originaux. Aujourd'hui, non, on peut dire que, pas monsieur tout le monde, mais que la bourgeoisie éclairée a reconnu qu'on pouvait construire une maison.
This is a place near Marrakesh, a place where mostly the upper class resides. This spectacular house is another Adobe work of Elie Mouya. He built 50 or more houses like this during the past 20 years. This one, with a golf link over the pool, was also built with Adobe. The place where they dug to build the house has been turned into a luxurious swimming pool. The arched round ceiling built with many smaller Adobe blocks, and the walls that keep the natural color and quality of Adobe. All this looks so modern and elegant. No one would believe it was made from clay. But the outer wall still has the roughness of earth, and the fences were built by piling Adobe in the PJ method. This is a type of modern Adobe architecture. Kassel is located in the middle of Hanover and Frankfurt, Germany. The University of Kassel is located here. There are traditional European Adobe houses covered with grass on the roof, as well as the shell-like houses that can be easily found in West Africa. Professor Minke is very interested in the potential of clay as a material for ecological architecture. He is conducting important experiments to modernize and popularize the Adobe house. In general, everyone agrees that clay is very environmentally friendly, but there are some issues to resolve in order to bring about its widespread use. There is the problem of protection against the rain, firmness, and cracks caused by contraction.
Okay, ne, lassen wir noch ein bisschen laufen jetzt. Gut. Ja, wir machen ja nun verschiedene Tests. Einmal die Wasserfestigkeit, die Regenfestigkeit haben wir getestet. Wir haben hier die Kantenfestigkeit. Wenn wir Lehmsteine für den Innenausbau verwenden, dann muss es eine hohe Kantenfestigkeit haben. Wenn man mit einem Möbel gegen eine Lehmkante stößt, darf die nicht abplatzen. die Abreibfestigkeit, das brauchen wir für einen Fußboden zum Beispiel. Wenn wir einen Fußboden aus Lehm machen, dann muss dieses Material diesen Test überstehen. Das 62, 6% Zement.
Among all these tests, the most important ones are the water and rainproof tests. This is the first problem to solve in Europe, as the region has high humidity and frequent rain. For this, Professor Minke is running a variety of tests by adding materials like cellulose, lime, cement, casein oil, and acrylic acid.
Und dann können wir vergleichen. Es gibt einige Proben wie diese, die nach 30 Sekunden schon Abschlemmwirkung zeigen. Es gibt andere, die 4 Tage ununterbrochen, ohne dass man irgendwas sieht. Hier zum Beispiel.
4 Tage war
Nehmen Sie mal. Die war 4 Tage in diesem Gerät und überhaupt nichts zu sehen.
In fact, they do have enough data about the limitations of clay as construction material, such as the water and rainproof factors, gathered from more than 10 years of studies. Professor Minke's concerns focus on how to standardize and popularize this technology. In order to achieve this, Professor Minke has set up another experiment. Under the hill, covered with grass and earth, a place resembling an underground fortress. This is Professor Minke's house. He covered the roof with grass and earth in order to maximize insulation and shut out outside noise, and installed many transparent acrylic dome structures to maximize natural lighting. Inside the house, a variety of experiments were run, as expected. When he was building this house 9 years ago, Professor Minke decided to do an interesting experiment. He planned to make a sink with clay. He made a beautiful sink with clay mixed with casein oil, and to this day, it has not leaked a drop of water. He even built the dust collector in the kitchen with clay. Inside, there is a domed ceiling and a large window. All the materials used were made from Adobe. For the outer wall, he stacked up the earth in a unique method called coiling. As a result, the humidity inside this house remains at a level of 50% within a 10% error range. A decade of studies brought about a number of technological improvements, and now Professor Minke is focusing on a more realistic issue, For whom shall we build this house? This is a kindergarten in the neighborhood of Hanover, Germany. In here, children run around as freely as they run in an outside playground. To children, this is a magical castle from a fairy tale, rather than a kindergarten. This kindergarten feels different from ordinary kindergartens. The door to the heavens, the round and arched windows, the warm feeling from the clay, and the huge space. For the health of the children, parents wanted an ecological architecture and asked Professor Minke to build a kindergarten using Adobe. Everyone was excited about the project, and the kindergarten was completed in 1997. At least, the children in this kindergarten do not suffer from respiratory diseases.
Versucht, weil verschiedene Temperaturen sehr gut ausgeglichen werden durch den Lehm. Auch die Luftfeuchtigkeit gleicht sich aus. Und wenn ich hier drin bin, kann ich sagen, also ich finde es immer angenehm, hier zu sein vom Klima her.
Große Welt, wohlbestellt, wie viel zählst du dir allein? Ohne Zahl so viel Mal, sei gelobt der ewige Gott. Tiefes Meer, wohlbestellt, wie viel zählst du Fisch?
The educational philosophy of the Waldorf School made it possible to build a kindergarten with clay. The founder of the kindergarten, Ms. Reichs, asked herself, what do children need? However, the Parents Association went through a long debate that continued for 8 weeks about building a kindergarten with Adobe. There were parents who welcomed the idea of Adobe architecture, but there was also an equal number of parents who opposed it.
Es ging natürlich die Finanzen, die Gelder. Kann die Gemeinschaft es schaffen, die Gelder so zusammenzustellen, dass dieses Gebäude entstehen kann? Wird es zu teuer sein? Wir sind eine Gemeinschaft, ein Verein. Wäre es nicht günstiger, billigeres Haus zu bauen? Das waren die Hauptargumente. Man hatte einfach Angst, dass man das nicht schafft, weil das Haus natürlich außergewöhnlich ist. Die Schönheit dieses Gebäudes, die Qualitäten, die wurden nie in Frage gestellt. Aber die Kosten und die Bauweise und die Gemeinschaft fragte sich, schaffen wir es? Aber wir haben es geschafft. Kinder vergehen, ja?
Creating a kindergarten where children can play safely, and furthermore, creating child care centers, nursing homes, and hospitals from Adobe. It's already possible with today's technology. This Hanover kindergarten became a small example of overcoming the stereotype that clay is weak, dirty, and worn. We live in the city. In this city, we dream every day of living a comfortable, peaceful, and happy life. Perhaps we accepted our living space as a given and have not thought about where we really want to live, or how we really want to live. But today, the clay, the soil, the earth is slowly coming back to us. And here, in this house made of clay, we are spending our days in comfort, peace, and health.